Good afternoon, Austin. Hope everyone is having a great day today. Back here with the Austin Spotlight. My name is Troy Schlicker, as hopefully most of you know nowadays. But I'm here today with Jimmy Yen of Achieve Integrative Health. And just want to say thanks for joining me today, Jimmy.
Yeah, Troy. Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be on the show.
Yeah, it was really cool learning a little bit about your company. Obviously, beforehand, I don't necessarily do probably as deep a dive of research as some people do, but also not trying to uncover where the bodies are buried kind of thing isn't never
Yeah.
necessarily the goal of the podcast either. So not having to go crazy with the research, but for people who don't know you, which maybe less than you think sometimes because you have a pretty big online presence both on Instagram and TikTok and a few different places. But for those people who don't know you, maybe give us a little bit of your origin story about who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Jimmy Yen. I am a licensed acupuncturist here in Austin, Texas. I have a practice in technically Cedar Park, Texas. It's the largest acupuncture practice in Austin. And I'm a UT grad, so hook 'em horns. I've been in Austin for a while, since 94. I actually went to 1 year of high school here in McCallum High School. For those of y'all who know, it used to be one of the smallest high schools here in Austin. So I went there 1 year, and then I went to UT, and then I went to acupuncture school. And so I'm also known, as you say, I've got a pretty big following on social media, branded myself as a TikTok acupuncturist. And what I do is just share biohacking tips on my social media page. And while my clinic, I have a team, a big team that provides treatments of Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine. And our mission is really to help people restore their body's natural ability to heal itself so that they can do all the things that they love to do.
That's awesome. Yeah. 1994 is definitely one of the more tenured Austinites at that point in time. I've
Yeah.
been here since about 2006 or so, so about 16, 17 years. And that's in a lot of cases, that's like, oh, you've been here a long time. So
Yeah.
94 definitely is on the longer side of things. What was the get it to Austin part of your life and journey?
I actually, before that, I was actually in Taiwan. So I was born in Taipei, Taiwan, but I came here. My parents brought me here when I was about a year and a half. So I was born in Taiwan, but I was raised a Texan. So I've been in Texas majority of my life. But prior to coming to Austin, I was actually in Taiwan. My parents wanted me to learn my own language so I could speak it. So they took me back to Taiwan for 1 year to learn some Chinese, some Mandarin Chinese. And then knowing I have an older sister and she was about a year and a half older than me, she was already in UT Austin. And so my parents were like, guess what? Guess where you're going to college? So since my sister was already here, it was just the natural progression. And so we moved. Actually, my parents didn't move back. I came back and I lived with my sister for my senior year in high school, just so that we can get the residency and so forth. And yeah, so after I came back a year for my senior year and then directly went into UT. But even prior to that, I've lived in, wow, Dallas, actually Plano, specifically Plano for a year. I was in Houston for 2 years. I was in also a very small town. Not many people know unless you're really a Texan. It's a little town called Commerce, Texas, and it is about an hour and a half north of Dallas. So it's near the Oklahoma-Texas border. And back then, I believe the population was probably 1,000. So I probably grew up, I would say grew up there in a small Texas town.
What made you decide? So initially when you were going to college, were
Yeah.
you initially going for acupuncture, and was that kind of the thought process going in, or were you like a lot of college students where you ended up changing majors 3 or 4 times while you were
Oh,
in
yeah.
school?
Let's just say I wanted to change my major multiple times, but I ended up not doing it, thankfully. So I went to UT and I did change it. I started off as a chemistry major and then transitioned to biochemistry. So not too big of a change. So I ended up graduating with a biochemistry degree, bachelor's. And my original intention was actually to go to veterinary school. And so That was why I majored in biochemistry. So that was my original intention. However, I would say after I graduated, or close to when I was graduating, I was at a fork in the road. And so at that time, I was working part time at this frame shop. And at that time, I met a girl. And at that time, I had to make a decision. I had to, the decision was, do I stay in Austin and pursue the girl, or do I go to veterinary school? And veterinary school is in Texas A&M. That's
Yep.
Texas. That's the only veterinary school in Texas. So that's in College Station. So I had a choice. Do I go for the girl or I go for veterinarian? And so obviously I stayed. I pursued the girl.
Obviously chose the girl. Right? Any decision that includes those two almost always goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I made the smart decision.
Yes.
What is that? We're 23. So 22 years later, she's still my wife. So I married the girl and we've been married for 22 years.
That's awesome. That definitely was the right decision.
But to answer your question, I didn't even answer your question. So if I had to stay in Austin, so I had to decide what am I going to do? And so at that time, it just so happened my dad was talking to me about, oh, hey, there's an acupuncture school here in Austin. So all of this was happening all at the same time. And Chinese medicine has been part of my culture growing up, even though I grew up here in Texas. But my parents raised me with the Chinese medicine theories about how to eat, how to do lifestyle, how to just basic natural healing, I would say, strategies. And so my dad was like, hey, did you know there's an acupuncture school? And I was like, yeah, great. And then that got my foot in the door and the rest is history.
That's cool. And nowadays, I've actually seen instances on different shows where the vets and animals will get acupuncture as well too. So maybe you can meld the two together at some point. Although I'm sure there are some, just the same way medical school and veterinarian school are not the same thing. I'm sure there are definitely some specifics required for animal acupuncture techniques as well too.
Yeah, they're in the state of Texas. Every state has different laws in different states. In the state of Texas, you have to be a veterinarian in order to do acupuncture on animals.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be able to do that. But I have veterinarians that are patients of mine. Then they do acupuncture on their animals, and so a lot of times they would consult with me. It's like, what do you do on humans? And then I would teach them what I would do on humans, and they would do it on pets, and it would work miraculously.
Because I imagine there's not, even though again, even though you've seen it, I've seen it like on zoo shows or different things when they're trying to take care of older animals that way. I would imagine that it's not such a popular category that there's specific schools for that, the same way there are traditional acupuncture schools. So unless someone's specifically going to vet school and then to acupuncture school, my guess is a lot of people who do that are probably getting more kind of side courses or individualized training from someone like yourself who knows and can teach them the techniques that would be that they could potentially use that way.
Yeah, I'm not sure I believe veterinarians have their own training in veterinarian acupuncture, but it's actually becoming super popular.
Yeah.
We actually have quite a few patients. The reason why they are trying acupuncture for themselves is because they first had their pets test it for them. And we know animals don't lie. So if it works on an animal, we know it's working. So that goes to, some people think that acupuncture is just a voodoo. It's done on animals. And if the animal improves, the animal can't lie to you and say acupuncture doesn't work. And so we have quite a few patients.
The animal's not like, you spent all this money on me, I'm just going to pretend like I feel better suddenly.
Exactly. It's like, no, I just feel better. I just naturally feel better. No. But yeah, there's so many, veterinary acupuncture is becoming so super popular.
Sure. Just the whole pet side of things in general, right? Like the amount of money that Americans spend on their pets, whether it's food, toys, doggy daycare, all those kind of things, has just grown exponentially. So not surprising that the acupuncture side of it has grown as well. When you were going then to acupuncture school, was the thought process to start your own clinic and business kind of from the onset? Like that was an early goal for you, or was it just to go work at another practice?
It was, I wanted to work for somebody in the beginning because I've never ran a business. I have no idea how to do it and successfully. So I wanted to find someone that has been there, done that. And so unfortunately, when I graduated, this was 2004, there wasn't many acupuncture jobs available. But I was very fortunate that a one of actually my classmates whose husband was a physician, and that physician, they lived in Waco, and they were starting a integrative, one of the very first integrative practices. And so they were combining Western medicine with traditional Chinese medicine or acupuncture. And she knew I did pretty good in school, and so she knew who I was, and she's like, hey, you want to come up to Waco and just help us start this integrative practice, and you can be basically the department head for the acupuncture. And I was like, oh yeah, I would love to. I'd be honored to. And so I was very fortunate that I was able to start that way and work and help them develop the acupuncture department in the integrative clinic.
Nice. And so then that once you started that and knew you probably didn't want to live up in Waco potentially for the rest of your life, you were kind of like, hey, let's not like that gave you the confidence to start your own, or were there some more steps along the way there?
Oh, there was a lot more steps, and it's just the journey of an entrepreneur. I actually did not move up to Waco, and for people not to, for people
Not
who've
that
been to
there's anything wrong
Waco,
with Waco, other
there's
than
nothing wrong with Waco.
like,
Yeah.
other than over the last, as someone who has driven through it many times over the last number of years, the traffic up there because of all the expansion they've been doing on 35 has been crazy. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it is
Yeah.
actually a wonderful city.
This was back in 2004, so
Fair
there
enough.
wasn't
It
that
probably
much. There was nothing out there.
yeah,
They had, I remember they have restaurants, but they only have one of each type of restaurants,
sure.
and that's how. But anyways, so I was living here. So I was living here in Austin, actually in Leander, and I was driving to Waco every single day. And so that was 3 hours every single day. I rarely saw the sun because I was getting up early to drive, and then I was leaving late. So it would just be like dark all the time.
Mhm.
And so I did that for a few months, and I love driving, but that got tiring.
Sure.
And so I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. And my wife and I, we weren't going to move up to Waco. And so that's when I said, okay, I got to come back, come to Austin, and just figure out what I'm going to do, open a practice, because there wasn't other jobs. I looked for other jobs, but nobody at that time, there was not many successful acupuncture clinics, and they couldn't afford to hire people. And so I had no choice. But if I want to continue to practice, I had to open a practice by myself.
Sure.
But instead, actually, I found another acupuncturist, and I said, hey, you want to partner? You want to partner with me? And let's open a practice together. And so that was actually my very first practice. I opened that when I came back to Austin, and it was in Southwest Austin near the Y and Oak Hill. And so we opened the practice. Again, I had no experience building a practice. I helped start that clinic up there,
Sure.
but being in a business and helping them build a business versus you starting it from scratch is
Sure.
completely different. And that business did not, we barely survived. We did about 8 months of that, and we were just not making money. It was not
Yeah.
sustainable. And so I was at another fork in the road. So I was in another fork in the road, and I was like, what am I going to do? Because we're not making any money. We're getting into more debt. I already had over $100,000 in debt from school, and I was just accumulating more debt. And so had to make a decision. Do I do something else, find another career, or do something else? And actually, at that time, one of my wife's friends, who is a nurse anesthetist, they make really good money when they graduate. Starting salary that you come out is 150,000. So I was like, maybe I should try that. And so temporarily at that time, I gave up on acupuncture, and I decided to pursue this nurse anesthetist. So in order to do that, I needed to get a nursing degree first, because my bachelor's was in biochemistry. I needed a nursing degree in order to get to a bachelor's in nursing, in order to apply for the master's in nursing to become a nurse anesthetist. And so I didn't really want to go through 4 years of another bachelor's. So I found a program actually in Texas Tech, and they have an accelerator program where they condense 4 years of nursing school into 1 year. and I applied for it, and thankfully I got accepted to it. And yeah, then I enrolled in that program, and me personally, I moved up to Lubbock. That's where
Sure.
Texas Tech is. And but my wife, she had her job here. She just started her job, and she was here in Austin. So we had to be apart.
Yeah.
And so that was the decision that I made at that time. And I did 1 month about that. I did 1 month in the program, and I would drive back on the weekends. I don't know if you've driven to Lubbock.
I've been to Lubbock once, and yeah, it's a track.
That's
And
enough.
yeah, it is. There's not a whole lot to see on the way to and
Dirt.
from. Yeah, so that it is the perfect drive for self-driving cars. Is what
Yes.
it would be.
So it's an 8 hour drive,
Yeah.
right? So I was driving 8 hours one way on the weekends, and then I would drive back to school when the weekend's over. And so after a month of that, my wife and I, we were just like, man, I mean, it's just tough on your marriage being apart, right? And we're like, okay, no amount of money is worth being apart. And so then I made another decision. So I decided, hey, okay, this is not worth it. So I decided I'm going to give it one last try. I'm going to come back to Austin, and I'm going to open my own practice by myself this time. And this time I have no choice. I'm going to make it successful. So I unenrolled out of the program from Texas Tech, moved back to Austin, Meander, and started my current practice in 2007. And since then, when all your ships are burned and you have nowhere to go but to succeed, and you have to succeed, there is no other choice, and you do whatever it takes. And then in 2007 till now, I have the largest practice. It all worked out great.
That's awesome. Like you say, and I think it's an important story to tell that, right? Like a lot of times, again, being on social media, right, you have a relatively large following, but like you get to say that you're the largest practice here in Austin and all those things, which are true and awesome. But a lot of people don't realize the struggles that most
Oh yeah.
successful people have to go through in order to get there. It's not usually just a straight line from, hey, I graduated to I'm now run the largest practice in Austin, Texas type of thing. There's struggles along the way that could have potentially taken different turns or
No.
choices that could have been made. Like, had you decided to stick out the nursing program, like you'd
Yeah.
probably be in a little bit different place today.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's pretty much, I quit twice in my life. I hate quitting, and
Sure.
I don't consider myself a quitter. You can say pivot, you can say
Yeah,
quit, you can say
no,
quit.
right.
Yeah,
And
right.
I think that's one of the things, though, that like people sometimes aren't, especially people who are successful academically, because if you're successful academically, usually you don't have any failures until you're out in like, so for the first 22 years of your life, you're successful because you're usually getting A's and B's in school and passing tests and
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff. Right? So it can be extra hard to fail in something like the joint business, the partnership with the other acupuncturist, because you're just not used to dealing with things not succeeding. So, but right, like had that, like there's also a scenario I'm sure where that could have worked and you would have
hmm
been moderately successful enough to keep it going, but not
yeah,
really that successful, and maybe not
yes,
have enjoying it as much as I'm sure you're able to enjoy having your own practice
yeah.
the way you do now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was definitely learning experiences, and I appreciate all of those experiences, all those hardships and hurdles that I went through, because I definitely would not be where I am today without those.
It helps you appreciate the success more, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
if it's not, if success comes too easy, sometimes it's not enjoyed and appreciated the same way as if there are some struggles along the way.
definitely. I would think yeah, if success came more easily, I think we tend to be less grateful for everything that happens, for the people around you, the people that supported you when times were tough. And but going through those struggles, you can identify, and it reminds us to be grateful to those people, and also to be empathetic to people that are starting out, that are
Sure.
going through those struggles right now.
Yeah, it's right to not have the judgment on somebody else who's maybe not as successful in their current
hmm
endeavor right now, because you've been there, I've been there, most people have been there, where it's like, hey, you're not, it's not always just success upon success. And so like when somebody else is struggling, again, part of the reason that I like started the podcast was it's interesting to hear other people's stories and journeys about them going through struggles and the challenges to hopefully become successful at their career one point in time, and to realize that it's worth taking those chances, right? There's, again, you would have had to probably leave Austin since there weren't really any openings, but there would have been other things you could have done, like you say, gone to be a nurse practitioner. I'm sure there were maybe more on the coast where acupuncture was maybe more accepted and there was more Chinese medicine and some of those kind of things. You could have moved somewhere else to go work at someone else's practice that way too. So there were other avenues that you could have taken that would have been good too. Wouldn't have been anything wrong with those, but probably not as satisfying as where things are now.
Yeah, and it's I think the biggest thing was having your ships burned. A lot of people talk about burning your own ships. I didn't have ships to burn. They were all burned for me. My family was not a wealthy family. I remember growing up on food stamps. And so it's very, having your ships burned for you, I think I actually take that as an advantage, because you don't have anything to burn, versus if you have ships to burn, then you have to go over that hurdle of burning your own ships. But when you don't have any ships to burn, you have no choice. You either it's just like sink or swim. And so thankfully I swam.
Very good. Yeah. No, like I say, and very much so, if you have that safety net, like it is possible to cut the umbilical cord, or leave that safety net to really see if you can succeed. But a lot of times it's hard to truly make that change. And again, it's probably one of the reasons that had you finished the nursing program and gotten into that field and been, again, if you're making $150,000 a year doing that, it'd be really hard at that point in time to be like, hey, let me leave this program now that I'm starting to make some income and go back to the who knows if this is going to work out and try. And at that point, it wouldn't have been have to sink or swim, because it'd been like, oh, I've already got this degree that I can fall back on and just go back to work at Seton.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it depends on the person itself. I think because not everybody has that entrepreneur personality, and not everybody is that the right path for them. Some people their strength is in academia or a more structured environment, versus entrepreneur is chaos in the beginning. And so not everybody can handle that chaos, and it's not healthy for everybody to have it. Thankfully, that is my personality, and I love entrepreneurship, but it isn't necessarily for everybody.
No, and again, there's, like I say, I enjoy talking to other people that are small business owners, because I do find that exciting and interesting. But yeah, it's definitely not the type of career for everyone. And even entrepreneurs and small business owners wouldn't be successful. Most entrepreneurs and small business owners, if they didn't have the support of people who don't want to be that, wouldn't be as successful as they were either, right? Because
absolutely,
at some level, you need some organization and some structure to really make the thing take off and grow. But you also need that engine that the entrepreneur usually provides, especially early on, to think outside the box and work the wild and crazy hours and deal with the stress of, shoot, we don't know where the money's coming for payroll in 2 weeks at this point in time. And again, that stress and that craziness isn't for most people, which is perfectly fine as well too. So it's definitely a blend of different types of personalities and different strengths and weaknesses that make a business successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm definitely learning that right now, since I'm working on expanding. And so having different personalities on your team is super important.
I would say that seems, as the largest acupuncturist here in Austin, or clinic, feels like the next Austin thing you need to do is have the north and south locations, right? That's what every Austin business that's successful does. It's like, oh, we got to have our north location, because if you live north of 35th Street, you're not going to drive down south past the river. And if you live south of the 704, you're not going to come up to South Dallas, as people like to call it, who live down there. And is that something that's on the agenda for you guys, you think, at some point? Or would it be more just another location a little bit more towards Round Rock, Hutto, up north still for you guys?
Oh, absolutely. That is part of one of my plans, expansion plans. It is to have, actually, I would like to have 10 clinics all around Austin. And so I did have 2 clinics prior to COVID, and then I had to condense when COVID happened. But now I want to expand. So my goal right now is to have 10 clinics around Austin. And then after Austin, then I'll go to Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. That's the goal.
That's another thing with a real entrepreneur too, is, so it's funny, I don't know if you would necessarily consider yourself that, since
Uh-huh.
if you didn't necessarily grow up that way, but like you've scratched that itch, obviously, in doing the businesses. But now that you've done that, it's now what's next, right? It's got never satisfied with, like, oh, this is going really well, and I'm really grateful that it's going well. But it's like now we got to keep building, we got to keep striving for the next thing.
Yeah, it's for me, everybody has their own reasons why they want to expand. For me, it goes back to my mission. So, my mission of helping 1 million people with their health, restore their health. And so, I can't do it by myself. I learned probably a few years into my practice that me, solo practitioner, I can only help so many people every single day. There's only 24 hours in a day. There's only how many days in a week, right? And so that's why I knew I need to hire team members to help me because they can help my clinic help more people exponentially. And so the reason why I want to open so many clinics is because I want to reach my mission of helping 1 million people. Now that's from one mission is to help people restore their body's health. I also have a mission of, hey, my profession, I love my profession and it's not getting recognized as much here in the US. All over the world it is, but here in the US, it's still growing super slow. So that's another one of my passions to help elevate my profession. And that's another thing why I need to have more clinics because with more clinics, more popularity, more voice, more will that a stronger voice, then people will start to listen. And then the last passion that I have is I love corporations. I love like Dell, IBM, Apple. And the reason why I love those corporations is because I would like to build a business where that business is supporting and providing for 4,000 families. That is just, I would say, the pinnacle of success for me is to build something that supports 4,000 families. That just makes me excited when I talk about it.
Yeah. No, I think that's something that a lot of people don't. Obviously, there's a lot of both sides of the aisle or spectrum as far as like, the bad corporations and all that kind of stuff. But it's like at the
Oh
same
yeah,
point in time,
yeah,
those corporations, while a lot of them make a lot of money, like they are also supporting a lot of employees and
yes,
a lot of people and stuff too. And so there's definitely some good things. And obviously, like in most businesses or most things in life, there's ways that most businesses and people individually can improve on things, but that doesn't necessarily
hmm
mean that anything's usually all bad or all good.
exactly, exactly. I know the corporations get a bad rap. Yes, the way to do things. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the
Sure.
fact, the positives of it.
Yeah.
How many, just like Austin, you've seen it. You're a realtor, right? You're in real estate. And so you've seen the influx of people. That's all because of corporations providing jobs, that
Yep.
they are supporting thousands, millions of families. That's just, for me, just so outstanding.
Yep. So, Tony, you mentioned that like your profession, kind
Mhm.
of Eastern medicine is still slowly growing here in the
Mhm.
United States. I do feel like it's gotten significantly bigger. It's not that it's significantly big in comparison to Western medicine and
Yeah.
stuff at this point in time, but like a lot of things in life, whether it's food or just regular culture or medicine, right? There's been definitely in the last 20 years a much better influx and mixing of different types of things. But I do feel like, unlike food, which is really simple because it's like today I feel like Chinese food and tomorrow I feel like Mexican food, a lot of times when it comes to medicine, people tend to try to have more of a consistent approach. And so if you're used to, hey, I go to my doctor and my doctor prescribes me pills or my doctor says to do whatever, it's more rare that you deviate off that course and be like, let me try Eastern medicine for this one thing, but Western medicine for this thing. And so I think that can be one of the challenges in it growing. But obviously, health and wellness in general is something that is important to a lot of people. And there's a lot of people our age it feels like there's a lot more healthy people our age than
Yeah.
there were when we were in high school and college type of thing. And you didn't
Oh
necessarily
yeah.
see
Yeah.
people in their 40s and 50s being as active and seeming like still in their 20s or 30s a lot of times.
And I forgot when, but if you remember back then when the surgeon general, the medical research or all that stuff, they were
Mhm.
saying smoking was healthy
Sure.
way back when, right?
Mhm.
And so it's not for me when I say I want to elevate my profession, it's more about educating, right? Because Chinese medicine is not the superior medicine when it comes to acute care. And I love Western medicine. I started studying it when I was in college, but every medicine has its place. So it's
Sure.
more for me, it's about educating the public to let them know they have options. It's not to force people to be healthy or to choose Chinese medicine. It's to let them know, hey, there are options.
Mhm.
And if you actually want to fix a problem, a chronic disease, I'm not talking about you get in an accident, your hand is barely hanging on your body. Please go to the emergency room. Don't ever come to an acupuncture clinic because we ain't gonna sew you up. Okay,
Yeah.
we're not gonna save you. You need to go to Western medicine. You go to a hospital. That's where Western medicine saves lives. They save countless of lives, and I'm
Sure.
very appreciative of that. Now, when it comes to chronic, but you're not in an acute situation every single day. Majority of
Yep.
us are not. A majority of us are in chronic situations. They've been a disorder that's been there for a long time, like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity, insomnia. These are chronic disorders. Now, Western medicine has the strength of providing symptom relief, which means it takes away the symptom temporarily, but it's going to come back once you stop the medication. Like if you're relying upon medication to regulate your blood pressure, if you stop that medication, your blood pressure goes back to where it was before. It's
Mm.
still a problem. That's what they mean by masking a problem. And so, what I would like to do is to let people know, hey, if you want, it's your choice. If you don't want to fix your problem, then stick with the pill. That's okay. But there are people that want to fix the problem. And what I mean by that is getting their body to fix it by themselves. Because most of us were not born with high blood pressure. Something happened. We were born healthy, something happened, and now we have high blood pressure. So, what does that tell us? That means our body has the ability to regulate our blood pressure by itself without any treatments. So, Chinese medicine has the ability to help retrain the body to go back to where it was, which is self healing. That is my definition of truly fixing the problem. If you're taking a pill, it doesn't matter if it's an herbal pill. If you have to take an herbal pill to sustain your blood pressure, that's still not fixing the problem. That's still
Sure.
masking the problem. But the difference with Chinese medicine is that it has the ability to retrain the body, the brain to heal itself so that your body can start healing. Your body can heal your blood pressure by itself. It can heal your diabetes by yourself. You can heal your insomnia, your migraines, your neuropathy. It can heal all those by itself again. So that's what I would like to do is just provide more information so that people know they have options.
Yeah. No, like I say, the human body's a pretty miraculous
Mhm.
machine, for lack of a better word. And
Yeah.
but it's also again, but it also does a great job of staying in homeostasis, right? Like, hey,
Yes.
if you're gonna sit all day for 8 hours plus a day,
Yeah.
guess what? We're gonna get really comfortable doing that, and then it's gonna make it a lot harder to be super active. If you're going to compensate for a bad knee or a bad
Mhm.
whatever bad hip and not and just like and maybe you're not even necessarily masking it through medicine, but hey, I'm just
Yeah.
not going to do activities because when I do them my knee hurts. I'm just going to walk and go to work and stuff and give up sports or whatever those things may be. That your body's going to get to the point where it's like, great, we're just not going to be able to do anything active at any point in time. But it's going to that's not a great way to pain avoidance or just avoidance in general is generally not a good way to live for your body or for life in general.
Yeah, it's like symptom avoidance. Yeah, you said it exactly right. Our bodies are so brilliant, it's so resilient. It can adapt to anything. That's the beauty of our body, right? And so, yeah, it can adapt to unhealthy lifestyle situations. And like you said, people will just give up things, give up other things. Maybe they're not doing some type of treatment. They're just, okay, I'm just not going to do it anymore. I love playing tennis, but I can't because my knee hurts. My knee keeps on swelling. So I'm just not going to play tennis anymore. But here's the thing is those people sometimes later, 10 years down the road, they're like, man, I wish I could play tennis again. And here's the thing, there is a chance that they could
Mhm.
if they just get their bodies right. Obviously, they have to exercise, they have to change their diet. Those are everybody knows, watch what you eat, get out and move more. Everybody knows that, but nobody does it consistently. If everybody did that, actually just took those two things, right? All the doctors would be out of business. right? It's because we don't do those things.
Yeah.
But healing can be very simple. It's not easy, but it can be very simple. But yeah, we tend to just give up on things that we love to do. And I'm trying to say, hey, you don't have to. You can do everything that you love to do.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely kind of the way. I'm like, okay, what's a way that I can make that happen versus, oh, I just have to give it up. So again, I feel like for a 43-year-old, I'm probably one of the healthier ones. I know I'm one of the healthier ones based on some of the activities and stuff that I'm able to do. And it's like
Yeah.
trying to find ways to continue to stay healthy, because that's the other thing too, is like a lot of people don't realize how long we're likely to live with that confluence of Western and Eastern medicine and stuff that's happening
Hmm.
with people, and just nutrition and all those kind of things. Like for me, both on my mom's side of the family, my grandpa and my great grandpa lived to be over 100 years old. And so,
Oh,
like,
wow.
there's a legitimate chance that I could do that. And then when you take into, like, if in life insurance nowadays, if someone's born today, they're like, they do life insurance and stuff based on like 120-year-old table, like just process that people are going to start to live that old in another 100 years based on just the advances in all different kinds of technology. And it's like, you're really going to live another full lifetime or
Yeah,
more. The last thing that I want to do is have to live it in a wheelchair or,
exactly.
be able to get out of bed and stuff. So it's like, how long can you continue staying as active and as fit and as able to do as many things as possible for as long as possible seems like a pretty worthwhile goal.
Yeah. If not for yourself, what about your kids? What about if you're going to live 120 years old, you probably you could see your grandkids and maybe even your grand grandkids. It's like, you want to be sitting in a wheelchair watching them, or do you want to be walking with them?
And yeah, enjoying the experiences instead of just being a spectator in them.
Yeah. You said it. Yeah, that's perfect.
For people that want to find out more about you guys, what are maybe some of the best ways to learn more, get in touch?
Yeah, I would say follow me on social media at Achieve Integrative Health. You can find us on TikTok. We're everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're on Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube. Where else? Everything. Yeah, I think Twitter. Yeah.
There.
So find us at Achieve Integrative Health, and we can start there, start the conversation. If you want to learn some biohacking tips, I offer free biohacking tips on those channels. And if you actually need some customized care, customized help, and you're here in Austin, Texas, or near the vicinity, we have people driving from New Braunfels, San Marcos, coming to us. There's a reason why we're the largest. We get really great results, and people are willing to drive an hour, 2 hours one way just to come see us and get the results.
Huh?
So, yeah, if you're
Yeah,
local,
my mom doesn't live in the area, but she has arthritis, and she
Mhm.
drives over an hour about once a month to go see her specialist for that.
Yeah,
Right, for a good physician, doctor, expert, it's worth the time and
oh
energy
yeah,
to make that happen for sure.
yeah, because you're gonna save time. Time is the one asset we never get back. Once you lose it, it's gone.
Definitely.
So if you want more time with your family, more time to do the things that you love to do, then you want to shorten that healing time. And so you find the best.
Definitely. Jimmy, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me today on the podcast. And it was super fun, interesting conversation to hear your story and talk a little bit about health and wellness as well too. Always a fun topic for me.
Yeah, thank you, Troy. Thank you for allowing me to share my story and share my passion for Chinese medicine. It was fun. I love doing these things.
Appreciate it. Hope everyone has a wonderful day out there.